Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to start working on the Sonex ailerons. So I've already started working on a few parts here. You'll see this part, the SNB W0409. You can see it's an assembly of two different parts, and I've made two of these, one for each of the aileron counterbalances. I've also worked on these ones, the aileron drive, the right hand and left hand aileron drive rib assembly. So there's a completed one. So let's flip the page. Today we're going to be working on this part right here, this assembly, wherein we're going to be able to cut this piece of lead as marked, which will go in between these two parts. You can see here probably on the drawing better than anything. So the lead will be bolted in up here at the front of this, and that's supposed to give the ailerons, they're supposed to be balanced when you're done. You can see here in this part of the drawing where it shows that you hang this from a piece of safety wire from the ceiling or wherever you want to hang it from. In my case, I'm probably going to hang it to the bottom of my desk here. If it's hung from the piano hinge right here, the weight of it should be so that make this bottom part of the aileron here level, or slightly nose heavy, so the aileron might tip up like this. It can go as far as 1/2 inch from being level. Alright, so let me try and explain how I plan to do this before I start, and then I'll record at various points along the way as I'm completing the task. So let's start with one of these ribs. It'll match up with this rib right over here on the drawing. I've already gone ahead and put a line along here, and the way I figured out where that line is, it's not specified in the directions very well, but if you measure on your drawing between this dashed line right here, just kind of on the other end of that, which symbolizes the bent down part of this, so it's sitting down here like this, and you measure to any one of these holes, it comes out at 1/8 of an inch. Now, I can look at the bottom of my drawing here. You can see here that the drawing scale is 1/2 unless it's otherwise noted. So in this case, this part on the drawing is half the size of this. So if I measure 1/8 on this distance right here, that means that in real life it's 1/4 of an inch. So what I've done, and that's been the case with all of these ribs as well, so we're always measuring 1/2 an inch, so that puts the rivets right in the middle of the part. So I've gone ahead and done that. I've drawn out as 1/4 inch away from the edge here, and that's where this part will line up these holes, right? And so if you look at the drawing, it says to put the counterbalance plate flush with the bottom of the aileron rib. And a nice easy way to do this is to lay something really heavy like this giant piece of lead right up there against it, and then make this aligned with that. I don't know if you can see it from this angle or not, but there it is. And then I'm just going to roll this forward until those holes right there line up with my mark that I've created on the back side of this. So that's how I'm going to drill this part, and then putting clecos down inside of this to hold it in place while I drill out the rest. I'm going to do that twice. I'm going to do it once for the right side of this aileron rib and once for the other side of the aileron rib. Eventually, this part is going to go between those two parts. You can see it right here. It's showing it. And it also shows it here. So the beveled part on this sticks this direction on this particular piece. So that means it will go just like that. Once I get that all riveted together, then we will move on to the next part. Alright, so you should be able to see here that line kind of goes right between these marks right here. So eventually this part right here is going to have to go right where these two clecos are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out these holes first. It's already pre-drilled into this control arm here, and then I just need to drill through the rib itself. So once I do that, I'll flip this over, put the clecos in through the other side, and then put this onto this side, and then re-drill everything from the opposite side. Alright, looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and move these clecos to the other side. Alright, that all looks correct to me. Again, once I cut this piece of lead here along that line, it will fit right along, probably more like this, I guess. So we'll have to drill holes through the lead as well. And that's going to create the counterbalance, which will make this sit level once I hang it up on the hinge. Alright, so here I've got two parts that are going to be joined together like this. And I've got two of these to make, so this is just the first of the two. Alright, looks pretty good. Alright, I'm just about finished here with the rivets, and I thought I'd demonstrate this as well. I've got this little tool for putting rivets in that are close to the bend in the rib here. If you look closely at this, if I try to put my rivet gun in there, it's a little too close to this bent up portion to be able to get the head in there of my rivet gun. And so what I do is I put this over the top of the rivet inside of there, and it has a slight little bevel on it, so it kind of takes it away from the edge and lifts it up away from it so that the very tip of my rivet gun isn't right up against it. It kind of only puts it up to about there. So I'll demonstrate this really quick. Gets in there nice and close. And there's the rivet I just put in. If I were to try and do it too close, if I put this on, it just kind of bumps into it and there's just not enough space. So I'll do another one here real quick. I'll go ahead and pull out this cleco also so I can get in there without it bending to the side. Put it up here tight against it, pull it out. There we go. These ones along the opposite edge over here, there's enough space to be able to get the gun in there, so I don't need to actually use that tool. Just put this in, press up against it, There we go, all complete. Now, the ones that go right here on this edge, they're going through 3 pieces of metal. They're going through the rib, they're going through this control arm here, and also this little spacer that we built earlier. So it actually requires a CCP 44 rivet on these 5. The rest of these are CCP 42s, but these 5 on either side are the CCP 44s. They're slightly longer, so they have a little bit deeper of a reach into the material you're attaching. But there you go, that one's complete. Alright, so the next thing I need to do then is to obviously finish off the second one of these counterweight assemblies. But before I do that, I'm going to cut this lead bar in half according to the dimensions in the instructions. Lead you got to be a little bit careful with. It's a super soft metal. As you can watch, I can actually score this with my fingernail. I just made a little score mark right there in that with my fingernail. So the issue is if you put it in your bandsaw and start cutting away, it's likely, if you don't lubricate it and if you go too fast and if you use very small teeth on your blade, it's very likely to get bound up, to melt into the blade and get attached to it and just make a big mess. Your blade's likely to get sort of seized inside of it as well. So make sure you use some cutting oil as well as having large teeth. I'm just going to use the one that came with my bandsaw, which is a wood blade. Which should do all right. I should also mention that I've never actually done this before, so this will be a new experience for me, and hopefully it all turns out all right. Alright, well, I did the cut, and it turned out what I think to be alright. Cut both of them to about the same size. The cut seemed to go pretty well. Like I said, I used some cutting oil. It works just fine for this. What it does is it dissipates the heat a little bit better so that it doesn't load up. It also puts a thin layer of lubricant between the blade and the melted metal, if there is any. Which obviously keeps the lead from melting into the blade itself and adhering to it. So it did a pretty good job. Can fit just right. Happy with that. Here we are. Here is the completed assembly. Got our bolts going through. It was already pre-drilled. I just went ahead and grabbed a larger drill bit, drilled the holes through halfway into one direction and then halfway into the other direction until they met up, and then the drill was able to go through and make the holes line up. Put the bolts into place and tightened them down, and it turned out relatively well. I'm happy with that. That's the first of the 2, so I'm going to go ahead and build the second one now. One thing I learned the hard way when I was working on the last part, this one up here, is when you're drilling through the lead, make sure that you absolutely use some kind of cutting oil, even if it's just a drop of 10W30 or whatever you have in your garage, something in there that's going to lubricate it. At one point on the first one that I finished, I broke off a drill bit inside of the lead. What had happened is it drilled in farther, and as soon as it got hot, it had melted the lead, and then the lead adhered to it. And when I tried to back it out, it just ended up snapping off the drill bit. So it took a lot of effort to get it out. If you just put a little drop or 2 of this in there before you start to drill through, you end up not getting that to happen. So I found that if I go just a drop on the top to start, and then once I've got a hole started, put a little bit more inside of there, it works the best. that should be about halfway through. So I'll go ahead and drill from the other side now. Now if I keep my hole straight, I should be able to just drill right into the hole on the other side, which means I need to take this cleco out from the other side as well, so I don't damage it when I pull it through. Another little drop of cutting oil. Alright, I made a hole right through it. Looks pretty clear. On that side, I hit the cleco on the other end, so I've got to remember to pull these out when I get there. Move them to the top so it holds it steady. Alright, got a hole through it. Alright, all the pilot holes are drilled. Now I'm going to move up to a larger drill bit to fit the actual bolts that go in, which are the AN314As. In my attempt to extract the drill bit that I'd gotten stuck in the other piece of lead, I had actually damaged a drill bit, so I tried to sharpen this guy on my grinding wheel. We'll see if this works or not. I've done this before, but it's been a long time. I did 4 years of metal fab in high school, and that was one of the things we had to learn, is how to sharpen a tool bit, including lathe cutters and drill bits and those kinds of things. So we'll see how this works. It's been like 30 years or something like that. Well, in a word, that drill bit didn't do a very good job, so I'm going to switch it out for another one. That one worked a bit better. So I'm going to put in my AN314A bolt just to hold this in place. There we go. All right, flip it over and go from the other side. There we go, that's two. Alright, last bolt. And then the last step is just to put these locking nuts on them. I'm actually sort of surprised that they're not asking you to put washers on this, since you're going, you know, these stainless steel bolts here, or nuts, against aluminum. But maybe you just don't tighten them down too much. It doesn't really say in the directions here that I can see. So I'm basically just going down until the metal here touches on both sides, then I just give it another half a turn. Well, that was probably a third of a turn there. It seems enough to hold it all in place without over tightening. And since these are lock nuts on here, I'm not too concerned about them backing out. It's just holding a piece of lead so that when I have the material on the end of this, it'll keep it balanced instead of tipping one direction or the other. Oh, there you go. Nice hefty piece of lead here in the middle. Turned out pretty good. Alright, well there you go. That's how I built my Aileron counterweights. I think the only thing that I didn't really mention in there was the size of the drill bit that I used. It's a 3/16 drill bit that I used for the holes for the lead weights. And it seems like those AN3s fit in there pretty well using that. So that's about how I'm going to wrap this video up. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. If you feel so inclined, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, all those things, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.